Welcome back to GeoHub. Today we're exploring the lost nations that haunt our modern maps. We often see countries as permanent, but the world's borders are always shifting. Nations rise, fall, and sometimes vanish entirely. These are the lost countries, erased by war, politics, or the tides of history. Their names now echoes in textbooks and memories. Today, we'll uncover how empires crumbled, unions dissolved, and entire countries disappeared, shaping the world we know. Understanding these stories reveals why our current map looks the way it does, and why it could change again. If you enjoy deep dives into history and geography, hit like and subscribe to GeoHub. Let's begin our journey into the ghosts on our maps. Our first ghost is Prussia, a name once synonymous with military might and discipline. Prussia began as a small duchy, but under leaders like Frederick the Great and Bismarck, it grew into a powerhouse, unifying Germany in 1871. Prussia's identity became Germany's, but its militarism was blamed for 2 world wars. After Wunu, the Allies saw Prussia as the root of German aggression, and abolished it in 1947, dividing its lands among Germany, Poland, and the Soviet Union. The name was wiped from the map, a deliberate erasure of a state seen as too dangerous to survive. Today, Prussia exists only in history books and cultural references. Its story is a lesson in how a nation's strength can also be its undoing, and how the world can conspire to erase even the most powerful states. The castles remain, but the country is gone. Prussia's legacy lingers in modern Germany, a ghost haunting the nation it once created. Borders can be redrawn not just by war, but by political will. Prussia's end was not a battle, but a signature, a true ghost on the map. Next, Yugoslavia, a country built on the dream of unity among South Slavs, held together by Tito's leadership. For decades, Yugoslavia balanced East and West, but old ethnic tensions simmered beneath the surface. Tito's death in 1980 removed the keystone, and economic crisis fueled nationalism. Politicians like Milosevic and Tudman exploited history and identity, turning neighbors into enemies. The breakup was violent. Slovenia and Croatia declared independence in 1991, followed by brutal wars in Croatia and Bosnia. The siege of Sarajevo and the Srebrenica genocide became symbols of ethnic conflict. NATO intervention eventually stopped the bloodshed, but by the late 1990s Yugoslavia was gone, replaced by new nations: Slovenia, Croatia, Bosnia and Herzegovina, Serbia, Montenegro, North Macedonia, and later Kosovo. Borders once administrative became international, often drawn in blood. The shared Yugoslav identity shattered, replaced by fiercely guarded ethnic lines. Yugoslavia's violent end is a warning. Even strong countries can be torn apart by nationalism. Its legacy is a region still healing from deep scars. The country didn't just vanish, it was violently erased. The ghosts of Yugoslavia still haunt the Balkans, a tragic lesson in the fragility of unity. Not all breakups are violent. Czechoslovakia's story is the opposite, a peaceful split known as the Velvet Divorce. Formed after World War I, Czechoslovakia united Czechs and Slovaks, but differences in history, identity, and economics lingered. After the Velvet Revolution in 1989, old questions resurfaced. Czech and Slovak leaders disagreed on the country's future, and in 1993, they negotiated a peaceful separation. No violence, just careful planning. The Czech Republic and Slovakia emerged as independent nations, maintaining close ties. The border became international, but relations remained friendly. The Velvet Divorce stands as a model for peaceful state dissolution. While most citizens preferred unity, leaders chose a split to avoid conflict. Today, the 2 countries share history and friendship, a rare civilized breakup, proof that borders can change without bloodshed. The Ottoman Empire once spanned 3 continents, ruling over a vast, diverse population for 6 centuries. By the 19th century, it was the sick man of Europe, weakened by military defeats, economic decline, and rising nationalism. World War I was the final blow. Defeat led to occupation and the harsh Treaty of Sèvres. Mustafa Kemal Ataturk led a nationalist movement, abolishing the Sultanate and founding modern Turkey in 1923. The empire's collapse redrew the Middle East, as Britain and France carved out new states, often ignoring ethnic and sectarian realities. The consequences: artificial borders, ongoing conflicts, and instability that still shape the region. The Ottoman Empire vanished, but its legacy endures in the modern Middle East. Borders drawn by outsiders replace centuries of imperial rule. The ghosts of the Ottomans linger in every regional dispute. Empires can vanish, but their shadows remain. The map was forever changed. East Germany, or the GDR, was born from the Cold War's division of Germany after World War II. The Soviet-controlled East became a communist state, separated from the West by the Berlin Wall. Life in the GDR was defined by surveillance, limited freedoms, and a planned economy. The wall became the symbol of division, but by 1989 protests and reforms swept across Eastern Europe. The Berlin Wall fell, and within a year, East Germany ceased to exist, reunited with the West. 16 million people saw their country vanish overnight. The process was challenging, but reunification remains a symbol of hope. East Germany's brief existence is a reminder of how quickly borders can change. The Iron Curtain lifted and a nation disappeared, a lost country but a united Germany. Tibet, once a remote Buddhist kingdom, maintained de facto independence for centuries despite outside influence. In 1950, China invaded, claiming Tibet as part of its territory. The Tibetan government, under duress, signed an agreement recognizing Chinese sovereignty. Resistance grew, leading to a failed uprising in 1959 and the Dalai Lama's exile. China imposed direct rule, suppressing Tibetan culture and religion. Thousands of monasteries were destroyed, and Han Chinese settlement changed the region's demographics. Today, Tibet is governed as an autonomous region, but calls for independence persist. The annexation remains a source of international controversy and protest. Tibet's unique identity was nearly erased, but its spirit endures in exile. A nation lost, but not forgotten. The struggle continues. Sikkim, a Himalayan kingdom, was a sovereign monarchy for centuries. After India's independence, Sikkim became an Indian protectorate, retaining autonomy but relying on India for defense and diplomacy. Ethnic tensions and political unrest in the 1970s led to Indian intervention. Pro-democracy protests weakened the monarchy, and a controversial referendum favored merging with India. In 1975, Sikkim became India's 22nd state. The monarchy was abolished. Critics call it annexation, while India cites the will of the people. Sikkim's unique culture survives, but its independence is gone. A quiet disappearance shaped by internal division and external power. Borders can vanish without war. Sikkim's story is a lesson in how small nations can be absorbed by larger neighbors. Another ghost on the map. Gran Colombia was Simon Bolivar's dream, a united republic across northern South America after independence from Spain. It included modern Colombia, Venezuela, Ecuador, Panama, and more. Despite its promise, regional identities and political rivalries quickly surfaced. Bolivar's vision of a strong central government clashed with calls for regional autonomy. By 1830, Venezuela and Ecuador seceded. The union collapsed. Gran Colombia lasted barely a decade, a reminder that shared ideals aren't enough without shared identity. The region fragmented into separate nations, each forging its own path. Bolivar's dream dissolved, but its legacy shaped South America's borders. Sometimes unity is harder than independence. Rhodesia, named after Cecil Rhodes, was a British colony ruled by a white minority. In 1965, the white government declared independence to avoid majority rule, becoming an international pariah. Sanctions and a brutal guerrilla war followed as black nationalist groups fought for liberation. By 1980, exhausted by conflict and isolation, Rhodesia agreed to majority rule. Elections brought Robert Mugabe to power and the country became Zimbabwe. The Rhodesian flag was lowered, ending white minority rule in Africa. Rhodesia's brief existence is a symbol of colonialism's last stand. Its end marked a new era for southern Africa. The country vanished, but its legacy remains controversial. Another lost nation, replaced by hope and struggle. The United Arab Republic was a bold experiment, a union of Egypt and Syria from 1958 to 1961, inspired by pan-Arab nationalism. Led by Egypt's Nasser, the union aimed for Arab unity but quickly became dominated by Egypt. Syrians felt marginalized as Cairo controlled politics and policy. Economic reforms and loss of autonomy fueled resentment. In 1961, a Syrian coup ended the union. Egypt kept the name until 1971, but the UAR was dead. The dream of Arab unity clashed with national realities. The UAR is a footnote, a symbol of both hope and the limits of idealism. Merging nations is harder than sharing language or culture. The experiment failed, but its lessons endure. Another ghost, briefly flickering on the map. 10 nations, 10 stories, each a reminder that borders are fragile and nations are not immortal. Lost countries shape the world we know, their ghosts echoing in today's conflicts and alliances. The map is always changing, redrawn by war, politics, and identity. Understanding these vanished states helps us see the present more clearly. Thank you for joining me on this journey through geopolitical history. If you enjoyed this, like and subscribe to GeoHub for more explorations. See you next time.